This video is sponsored by Squarespace. Hey guys, Jay here, welcome to Miles Memories Weekly, episode 225. Miles Memories is a show about nothing and is filmed in front of a live studio audience. This is a show where I talk about my painting, modeling, and wargaming experiences from the week. Now you might be thinking to yourself, Jay, you put out 3 YouTube videos a week. How? Could I possibly have more to say? Well, I do, and here goes. This week I got a little bit of painting and modeling done, but mostly Games Workshop is showing off some new, normal Space Marines. But this time they're not blue, but they could be. But first, have you ever thought your Space Marines would look really good on a website, but you don't know where to start? Well, today's sponsor, Squarespace, can help with that. Squarespace allows anyone to design the website of their dreams with the most powerful and easiest design tools in the industry, like Design Blueprint. Using AI technology empowers anyone to build a more personalized website tailored to their needs, crafting a bespoke digital identity. Choose from a professionally curated selection of styling options to build a unique online presence from the ground up. Squarespace makes sure it's easy to launch your website and get discovered fast with integrated, optimized SEO tools, so you show up more often to more people and grow the way you want. With Squarespace, it's never been easier to set up a unique online storefront. Whether your services are physical, digital, or service-based, selling your wares has never been easier. Squarespace offers an unmatched ability to showcase your unique wares with images, videos, reviews, and add-ons all capped off with their seamless checkout tools, letting your customers use whatever system they prefer, whether Klarna, ACH Direct Deposit, Apple Pay, Afterpay, or ClearPay. Squarespace offers a free trial for you to dip your feet into and test the waters, and ready to dive in headfirst, you can go to squarespace.com/EonsOfBattle or follow the link in the description to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Space Marine Heroes is a weird little thing that Games Workshop does, and I think it's pretty cool. It's Games Workshop blind bags or blind boxes. And this is a product that I kind of do like when you go to the mall, most stores will sell it kind of by the front where you can get like a little pop figure chibi or a weird little candy, or it's you don't know what you're gonna get. You just look at the box, and then the box usually has like a little show off of all of the different things that you might get, but you don't know which one you're gonna get. I was hanging out with a friend of mine, we were at the mall, and she was opening them to see what you get, but you shouldn't do that. But if there's one that you want, but you shouldn't do that. But it's kind of a fun little thing, and as long as it's cheap and you know what you're getting into, it's completely fine and fun. And Games Workshop has been doing this with their Space Marine Hero series. Now, I only ever saw Space Marine Hero Series 1 and Space Marine Hero Series 3 for sale. I think all of these have been available in Japan pretty widely forever, but that's the only time I've ever seen them in person is Series 1, I think I saw at Barnes & Noble, and Series 3 I saw at the Warhammer store. Series 3. Well, Series 1 originally, I think it was like 2017, maybe a little bit earlier, but it was regular old Tactical Marines. But what was kind of great is Tactical Marines at the time were like the regular old box of Tactical Marines was kind of iffy. Like it was the squatty cowboy poses, the arms pretty much matched up. They were definitely a little squatty with incredibly thin waists. And so the Hero series of Space Marines were really, really good. You got these incredible dynamic poses. They made the Space Marines a little bit taller and a little bit beefier, and they looked really good. And because Tactical Marines were so flexible, it was actually useful to get one Space Marine holding a flamer or one Space Marine holding a heavy bolter, because you could just purchase that for your unit and swap it in. Did it ever do much? Not usually. There was something to spamming las cannons, but other than that, it was kind of just, if you had 30 points laying around in your army building, you could throw in the plasma gun. Let's just see what happens. Space Marine Heroes Series 1 was okay. I purchased a few of these suckers. Nowadays, because they're Tactical Marines and they're pretty small compared to Primary Space Marines, although they were taller than the standard Tactical Marines that you would get from a Games Workshop box, they were okay. Brother Sergeant Sevastus, they all have names by the way, which is kind of cute that Games Workshop names all these individual guys. He was a perfectly fine like captain or lieutenant or just kind of fancy Space Marine, a Space Marine or a sergeant. But overall, these guys were good, and you got a whole bunch of them, and it was I was excited to see them keep going with this because Series 2 was really exciting. It was Terminators. This is where things got spicy, because a Terminator is a good get. If you can get a Terminator for a couple of bucks, I don't think it was still cheaper then purchasing a box of Terminators for buying all of these guys individually, but just getting a Terminator with like the Cyclone missile launcher or the twin lightning claws was kinda great. It didn't come with as many different poses as Space Marine Heroes Series 1, but it was really cool. I actually bought these guys in December of last year because Games Workshop was doing a made to order. And so I bought them, and then not that long ago, I actually got them in the mail. I put together the Lightning Claw guy, and they're a fair bit shorter than the Leviathan new Primaris Terminators, but they are taller than the original plastic Terminators. So they're kind of in a weird middle ground. What I'm gonna do with them is I wanna go all out on some Black Templar close combat Terminators. And so I'm just gonna have them stand on like extra tall cork bases just to get them all up to the appropriate height. But there's some really, really neat poses. I'm probably gonna swap out most of the arms. I do love Squatty Cyclone missile launcher guy. And the captain is pretty good. He's actually based on the original Terminator captain. I have one in metal. I have a few actually in metal kicking around here somewhere, but his scabbard is just covered in skulls. And they brought that into the sculpt for this new style, like this new model, and it's really, really cool. These Terminators are excellent and awesome. Honestly, please do Terminators again for Space Marine Heroes because it's just really good to get Terminators. Like regular intercessors are a dime a dozen, but a cool Terminator, I mean, that means something. After Space Marine Heroes Series 2, there was Space Marine Heroes Series 3, the Death Guard Edition. And this was probably the best Space Marine Heroes. These are some of the best looking Plague Marines Games Workshop has ever made. And like the original Plague Marines that came in Age of Darkness, and then the ones that came in the box, the multi-part plastic box, are all great. Just the styling of the Death Guard is so full. Every single inch of them is covered in a little maggot or a little tentacle or a crack or a pustule. And just they went all out on the sculpting for these guys. This wasn't just taking a Space Marine, T-posing and then just sculpting them into a slightly different version of running or heroic. Like they purposely sculpted every single one of these guys to be wonderfully unique. They actually, I think all of the Space Marine Heroes, they came with helmeted and unhelmeted options, which getting unhelmeted Death Guard heads is really hard. I think there's one singular one in the Death Guard box, and then there's an unhelmeted Chaos Space Marine head that looks pretty good for Death Guard, but I think that's all you get. But if you have Space Marine Heroes Series 3, you can get all helmetless heads, which I kind of prefer. I like the look of a little pale head sticking out of a grotesque Death Guard body. These guys are phenomenal. You get the Plague Caster, you get the Bolters, you get the Flail, you get the melee weapons, you get an icon of Nurgle. Like, I think anybody who collects Death Guard should have Space Marine Heroes Series 3. They're just really, really good. The Plague Marines are a little bit monoposed. There's a lot of them, but if you have a ton of Plague Marines in your army, you're gonna start to get duplicates. So using these guys is a really good way to just shove in some more different poses. These guys are fantastic, absolutely gorgeous. They all come with like a little friend. A lot of them have little Nurglings or a little tentacle. The Malignant Plague Caster, there's a Malignant Plague Caster in this series, which is a fantastic include. Comes with some flies. And actually, I'm planning on buying these guys because you can actually currently buy these guys. But what you can do with the Malignant Plague Caster is you can get two of them, put them in a Rhino, and that becomes the party Plague Bus. Because Rhinos have firing deck too, so two guys can shoot their guns out of the Rhino. You get two Malignant Plague Casters. Using their Winds of Nurgle ability, you can get 2d6 plus 6, strength 6, AP -1 or AP -2 damage 2, and then the damage is D3. So it's a total slot machine of what you're gonna do, but it's just really funny to drive a Rhino up on something and then just dump out a ton of Nurgle's Rot. It's a really hilarious little unit, and I really want to run it in my Death Guard army. It reminds me a little bit of back in the Dizzy when there was the Flamer template. People would put 10 Burnaboys in an orc truck, and then you would just hold out the template and say, I'm doing this template to you 10 times. And so you would just have to add that. You could get an absurd number of attacks off. It was actually kind of ridiculous. And you can do the same thing with Death Guard. Honestly, Space Marine Heroes Series 3, kind of the best Space Marine heroes, which is kind of sad because they're not Space Marines, they're Plague Marines. But I would kind of love to see them do this with all of the different unique flavors of chaos. Tzeentch would look great, although rubrics, it's hard to get a lot of good variety going, but they could figure something out. Have one guy who's kind of sort of meant to be sticking out of the top of a rhino. Like there's some things you could do, and it'd be interesting to see what kind of a sorcerer they include. Because I think all of the different Chaos Space Marines, except for Khorne, can have sorcerers, but Games Workshop doesn't make unique sorcerers for those factions. And actually, if you use the Games Workshop app to list build, every now and then you'll see like a Kit Bash customized character that they don't sell as one of the magicians or one of the sorcerers. And so you see a model and you're like, that looks really cool, what is that? You can't get it. It's like part of a sorcerer, a couple of pieces from the Chaos Space Marine kit, and then like a couple of pieces from the Rubric Marine sets. And then you have to figure out how to put it all together. But Space Marine Heroes is a really good way from Games Workshop to just get out those extra sculpts for the weirdos who just love having ultimate variety in their collections. Speaking of ultimate variety, Space Marine Heroes Series 4 came out, the Primaris Edition. These are Space Marines who are wearing Mark 10 armor, not necessarily Mark 10 Tacticus, because some of these guys are in Gravis, some of them are in Phobos. But these guys, along with Space Marine Heroes Series 3, the Death Guard, are available in the new Kill Team starter set. And I'm probably gonna buy it. I'm less interested in the Primaris Space Marines, but I do want I already have a lot of the Plague Marines, but I just want more of those Plague Marines, and I want that Sorcerer. I want the Malignant Plaguecaster, because he looks different than the regular one you can buy in like a blister from Games Workshop, and so if I had both, I would have two that are completely unique. But these guys are fine. They're all shades of all right. You get a couple of Intercessors. You get 4 Intercessors that are pretty darn plain. And like they're in somewhat unique poses, but I'm pretty sure if you put together like the Assault Intercessor from this set and you put them with your 5 Assault Intercessors that you get in the regular box, don't know if you could pick them out of a lineup. There's nothing particularly unique about it, and that's on purpose. You're supposed to be able to slot them into whatever Space Marines you're working on, but I don't know, it could have used a little something, a little extra spice. One little charm hanging off of his belt does not make him a unique Space Marine. And if he was more unique, maybe fewer people would want him, but I feel like some of these guys are so bland that I feel like not a ton of people are wanting him. Another kind of problem with Primaris Space Marines is to make this set more interesting, they included, what are the big tough Gravis guys called? I think they're just called Heavy Assault Intercessors. You get a Heavy Assault Intercessor and you get an Eliminator, which is fine, but those guys can be taken in squads of 3 or 5. So 1 doesn't do much for you, and you probably wouldn't want to buy multiples to get 3 identical guys to make up a full like Eliminator squad. And then again, if you put this guy with a squad of Eliminators, I don't think you'd be able to pick him out as the cool unique one. He's just aiming his rifle and wearing his camo cloak. Maybe if he was like all bundled up in his camo cloak so that he looked different than the normal ones. Or maybe if like his camo cloak was completely wrapped up and just hanging off of his backpack. Or maybe if he had it draped over all of himself and only the rifle barrel is sticking out. It might be a little bit lame that you've got like a Charlie Brown ghost with a sniper scope poking out of one of the eye holes. But I think it'd be silly enough that people would still want that model. But as is, it's just a regular old Space Marine. I think the best thing about this set is definitely the Lieutenant, or Captain. Captain and Lieutenant for Space Marines is pretty much interchangeable. It's just the Space Marine who looks a bit fancier. He's pretty darn cool. He's got a power fist, plasma pistol, screaming, punching. His cape is blowing in the wind. He's got the iron halo above his head. Like, this is a really, really good model. And I think I might buy it just because I want all those Plague Marines, and I do kind of want these guys a little bit. He would make an excellent, excellent Captain or Lieutenant. You want the fist, you want the plasma, you want a Space Marine who's a little fancier than your Intercessors. Space Marine Heroes Series 4 didn't set the world on fire, but now we got Space Marine Heroes Series 5. And hold your horses, it's regular Mark 10 Tacticus armor again. The spicy thing about these guys is they've been painted green instead of blue, so that's very, very different. They're sort of kind of Dark Angels. And instead of the Eliminator and the Heavy Intercessor, you get a Reaver and a Incursor. No, it's not an Incursor, it's an Infiltrator because of the bolt gun with the 2 scopes instead of the 1 big scope. And the 2 little antennas on his backpack. Incursors and Eliminators, not different enough, Games Workshop. It's interesting that they have some different rules, but in terms of the actual model on the table, they don't have a different enough presence for them to really feel like 2 different units. But the Reaver is kind of cool. I like the little, what are they called? Like the Descent jetpack, where he can't launch himself into the air, but he can let himself down slowly with his 2 little flappy wing things. Oh, and you get an Infernus squad guy with the flamethrower. Then you get regular Intercessor and regular Assault Intercessor. You get a Sternguard Veteran, which Sternguard Veteran is pretty good. He's got the Combi Bolter, a couple of charms and decorations on his belt, and he's got a Dick Towel, which is great because Dick Towel means you can turn that into a cool Space Marine, like a Lieutenant or a Captain, or just any kind of a Black Templar or anything. So he's a good include. And there is a character in this, and luckily it is not a Captain if you already bought the previous set. The Games Workshop is being a little like fun about it, where they're like, we don't know what, it's just a lieutenant, but you might have to buy the set to maybe get him to see what it's gonna be. It's Lieutenant in Phobos armor. You can totally tell from the silhouette. You can see the pinched ankles and the weapon options that it's totally a Lieutenant with combi weapon, which is fine. Usually you don't take a Lieutenant with combi weapon. There's some play if you attach it to like a squad of Reavers to make them a little bit fightier. But, and Lieutenant with combi weapon, which so far you've only been able to get in the Leviathan box, is actually excellent. He's a Space Marine with Lone Op, and he's really cheap. And so people buy him for pretty much only that reason. But if you need a Space Marine to just stand on a point and you want him to do it as cheap as possible, you use that model. And so this model would probably also make a really good proxy for that particular miniature. Other than that, these guys are kind of plain. There's nothing that's blowing my hair back. The Reaver who's jumping is kind of cool. Oh my gosh, that Intercessor carrying the bolter. There is an Intercessor that comes in the regular Intercessor box that is in exactly that pose. There's only so many different ways of doing Marine, but you could do a little something. What if some of these guys are at full sprint or standing? Games Workshop actually doesn't do just standing very often. I think that is an overlooked pose by Games Workshop. Space Marine Heroes Series 5 is fine. It's not super exciting. I think maybe it's a little bit better than Series 4. The Lieutenant with combi weapon, or the Lieutenant in Phobos armor, I'm slightly more interested in because I have many captains, but I only have 2 Lieutenants in Phobos armor, so I could use another one of those, I guess. Other than that, this set's fine. It does make me really excited for what they might do in the future, though. I think if Games Workshop doesn't want to go the route of doing the different unique chaos aspects, another really cool way to do it would be either different Space Marine chapters, so you could have a Space Wolf, a Blood Angel, a Death Watch, and you could have them really decked out to the nines in that specific heraldry. I think that would be really cool and would actually make me want to like buy multiple boxes just to see like, I don't collect Blood Angels, but if I wanted to have like one Blood Angel for my collection, I would like the most Blood Angel-y Blood Angel possible. And so that would be a cool thing. The other thing they could do is armor marks. Games Workshop used to sell a set called Armor Through the Ages, which had, I think it came out a long time ago, maybe like 2010. So the Horus Heresy had kind of just kicked off. But you did get the Mark 6 or Mark 5 Heresy, Mark 6 Beaky, like you got all of the different types of Space Marine armor. And so it would just be a really cool, like that is something that somebody would want to collect, is an example of the different types of Space Marine armor that has existed. And so as a thing to collect, that would make a lot of sense, as opposed to just one of each of the current Space Marine kits, because you can just buy the Space Marine kits. It doesn't feel exclusive or interesting. And you know what else is interesting? EonsOfBattle.com. EonsOfBattle.com is the place to find our merch, like the EOB dice. We've also got wet pallets, water slide decals, basing toppers, and bits. and is the best way to support us doing what we do with a membership. Each month, members get a credit that they can use on our new monthly terrain packs or any previous pack we have ever made. This month, we have the Faraway Galaxy Bundle, a battlefield's worth of sci-fi buildings with a clever removable door and roof system for easy access. These buildings print easy and are perfect for cutting a battlefield into a dangerous urban maze. There's also plenty of cargo containers and barricades, including the XT6 cargo sled, for moving all these accessories around the war zone. This set is perfect for quickly setting up a thematic battle in any system, planet, or moon. This set will be on EonsOfBattle.com for the month of July, and then it'll be gone. Even though the last couple of versions of Space Marine Heroes has been kinda I do still think it is a cool and worthwhile thing that Games Workshop does. It is kinda nifty to get some sculpts that you can't get otherwise, as long as they're not regular Intercessor Space Marines. And I think I am going to pull the trigger on the new Kill Team starter set because it does come with a lot of Plague Marines and some Intercessors that I can make something out of. Thanks for watching.